On our 5th wedding anniversary, my husband had an affair. The mistress was the college dance queen he had once pursued in vain. Calmly, I asked for a divorce. He was stunned, then furious. I've respected your feelings, never once brought her home. You're both women, how can you be so intolerant? The Sterling is bankrupt. Do you still think you're the lofty heiress on her pedestal? He looked me up and down with contempt, sneered, and stalked away. From that day on he moved into the Eastbrook estate, flaunting his love for Brittany, the mistress. Lavish banquets followed, and between courses he boasted, "Brittany is my white rose, the woman nestled in my heart. Whether Serena accepts it or not is irrelevant." The guests murmured, all waiting for my humiliation. I neither cried nor fussed, serenely throwing myself into business matters. Because 2 months earlier Adrian had phoned from overseas. Through his efforts Edward's bribery charges were cleared, Sterling was reborn, and soon the company would list in Beijing. Before we continue, please subscribe to this channel and tell us in the comments where you're tuning in from. I was on the sofa doing handicraft projects when the door swung open and Lincoln stalked in reeking of alcohol. He staggered over, tossed something aside, and barked, "Client dinner with President Wang," ended up drinking a few too many. I set my work down, rose, loosened his tie, and poured him a bowl of hangover cure. "At those useless handicraft projects again?" He glanced at the materials on the table, disgust in his eyes. I handed the emptied bowl to Green and said gently, "Lewis is hosting a luncheon next month. She likes the pieces I make." "Oh." Lincoln frowned. "The games those rich wives play wear me out just watching." He picked up the package he had thrown down, tore off the wrapping, and revealed a Herm. "You've worked hard keeping house lately. I went to the boutique personally. All the society wives are carrying this model." I accepted it and placed it on the living room organizer without a second look. "You're not going to try it on?" He blinked, startled. In our first 5 years Lincoln had often showered me with jewelry, skincare, designer clothes. Even if the gifts weren't to my taste, I had always feigned delight and praised him. This past year he had stopped bothering, and I had stopped pretending. Seeing my coolness, his face darkened, then he smiled again. "Darling, you're still upset I missed your birthday, aren't you?" On the 18th of last month I had gone to bed before he rolled in after midnight. Green reminded him the next morning. He flew out on business at dawn and only returned yesterday. I shook my head, voice soft. "Lincoln, there's something I need to say." His brows knit, he seemed to know. He cleared his throat, impatience written across his face. "If this is about your father, drop it. I married you against my family's wishes, shielded you from public scorn, haven't I done enough? Serena, you're a housewife who spends her days sipping tea and admiring flowers with society matrons. You have no idea how brutal the business battlefield is for me." I listened in silence. One never interrupts when another is speaking. It was a rule the Sterling family drilled into me since childhood. "This matter concerns only you and me." I held out the papers. Lincoln exhaled, relief flickering across his face as he began to leaf through. A smile tugged at his lips. "Making it so dramatic, thought you were." He froze, eyes glued to the heading, disbelief flooding his features. "Divorce petition?" I nodded, gaze steady. "Yes. Divorce papers." Many people believed that being Lincoln's wife was the greatest stroke of luck and happiness a woman could hope for. 6 years earlier, Sterling had been thrown into crisis overnight. Edward was accused of bribing officials and taken away for investigation. Friends scattered. Only Lincoln, heedless of public opinion, courted the Sterling heiress in full view of the press. They say his father went on a hunger strike at home trying to stop the marriage, yet failed to change his mind. As a daughter groomed by a business dynasty, I had both beauty and brains. I was the daughter-in-law every elite family coveted. Most people felt that, but for the sudden calamity, I could have married a self-made billionaire even if I had foregone a dynastic alliance. Lincoln was handsome and, though his family firm could not rival the old fortunes, he was still textbook tall, rich, and charming. Under those circumstances, everyone agreed, his willingness to marry me was already heaven-sent fortune. Overnight, the media spotlight shifted. Lincoln was praised as a man of honor and gratitude, repaying Edward's early patronage. After the wedding we appeared deeply in love, and many envied our romance. In our first year, at a banquet, President Zhang slighted me. Lincoln turned on him in public, forced an apology. In our second year he spent a fortune and countless nights handcrafting a delicate necklace to make my birthday unforgettable. In our third year, tired from shopping, he carried me through the long market street while onlookers sighed with envy. In our fifth year he kept a mistress on the side. Her name was Brittany, an employee and his college classmate. I first saw her at last year's company gala. I hadn't wanted to attend, but Louis insisted, saying no wife should be invisible at her husband's firm. That evening one female employee gave a solo dance performance, her sultry moves stunning the room. An employee beside me whispered, "Know who she is? She's the CEO's college classmate, used to be dance queen. They say he chased her hard and she turned him down. After her father's bankruptcy she came home and landed here by accident. Pity, the CEO's already married." Louis immediately scolded, "President Vance and his wife are devoted to each other, quit the gossip." I cracked sunflower seeds between my teeth and said nothing. When the performance ended, Brittany glided toward me in a staggeringly expensive dance costume, hips swaying like a metronome. She bowed with syrupy politeness, voice sugar-laced. "You must be Vance. Meeting you today proves you really are different." She tilted her head, smile freighted with smugness and resentment, eyes sparkling with the thrill of the coming knife. A trio of male partners seated nearby snickered under their breath, waiting for the show. I lifted a crystal dish of fruit from the side table. "A tip. Off you go." Brittany froze, her smile congealing. She glanced at Lincoln halfway across the ballroom, accepted the dish, and murmured, "Thank you, Vance," before retreating to the employee tables, silent for the rest of the night. Louis frowned. "Why walk all this way just to greet you?" I sipped my red wine. "Probably thinks we've walked the same road and wants to bond." Right then the room was hushed. After a long silence Lincoln finally stirred. He flicked the divorce papers in his hand, mouth twisted in something between a grin and a sneer. "Serena, why the sudden divorce? Spell it out." I answered calmly. "When you proposed, you swore in front of my father you would have only one wife and never betray me. You broke that oath. The marriage ends." Lincoln looked me up and down, incredulous. "You know everything? Because of Brittany?" I nodded. "Every last detail." He drew a deep breath and sighed. "Good. I've been sweating bullets. Brittany's family hit hard times, I feel sorry for her. And she was my college goddess. When she came to me, refusing her would have been against human nature. She knows my promise to you, and she never wanted your place. You're my wife, she lives outside. I see her Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and come home to you Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday." I sucked in a sharp breath. Why the complicated schedule? Sign the petition, marry her, and simplify life. Lincoln's face darkened. "I've Ted our marriage, I never brought her home. You women share the same species, must you be so intolerant?" I gave a cold laugh. "Your new secretary with zero resume, Brittany, right? On my birthday you were on a date with her, you came home late. That month-long business trip was practically a honeymoon. And this handbag," I tapped the Herm on the table, "it came in limited and regular edition pairs. I assume the limited one is decorating her arm." Lincoln's complexion mottled. Suddenly he roared, "Which rich man doesn't keep someone on the side? You haven't given me a child in 5 years, I have to think of the Vance bloodline. Haven't I treated you well? And you want to trash me over a trifle?" He lapsed into silence, then let out a string of icy chuckles. "You really want a divorce, or are you just using it to tighten your grip? I hate women who play those games, cheap, disgusting." His face was stone. On his way out he shot me a glance, voice frigid. "If I actually divorced you, you'd lose your mind. Sterling went bankrupt ages ago. Know your place. Without me you're nothing." When the door slammed, quiet returned. Green brought me a bowl of lily and lotus seed broth. "Madam, sip something soothing." I drank 2 spoonfuls and went to the study, where stacks of documents covered the mahogany desk. Beneath them lay a letter from 2 months earlier. "After thorough investigation, Edward is cleared of bribery charges and released." My father had been free for weeks, Adrian had flown him abroad. I'd meant to surprise Lincoln, but once I discovered the affair I saw no point. Lincoln moved out. Vance stormed in demanding an explanation, face thunderous. "Serena, I approved this marriage because you were born rich and should be broad-minded. Now you've driven my son from his own house, what nonsense is this?" Lila chimed in, voice dripping scorn. "My poor brother. If he'd married a woman whose family could help him, he'd have children by now and a brighter future. Keeping a mistress is normal for a man of his stature. Have some self-awareness, sister." Vance paused, then continued. "Lila's words are harsh but true. Lincoln is loyal by nature. 5 childless years, if he divorces you, you leave with nothing. Right now he merely keeps another woman, that's already generous." I sipped my tea and studied the jeweled pair in front of me. Had I not married in, they'd still be living hand to mouth. Though Sterling had been liquidated after my father's case, he had ring-fenced a dowry for me, jewels alone worth tens of millions. Vance had needed that cash infusion years ago. That dowry was why they welcomed me. Now that the company thrived, they felt entitled to more. I set the cup down and smiled thinly. Relax. When Lincoln's devoted husband facade collapses, the fallout will be minimal. He never had much value to begin with. Mother and daughter erupted in indignation. His value is enormous, how dare you belittle him? Sis, I'd advise you to be a little more generous. You know what my brother's like, don't end up humiliated and empty-handed. I knew they weren't actually hoping Lincoln and I would stay married. They were terrified a divorce would slice off a chunk of the sterling fortune. For years Lincoln had played the devoted husband role, racking up legions of online fans. Wanting your cake and eating it too? Life isn't that sweet. The Sterling family doesn't do infatuation. Whatever belongs to me, I keep, every last bit. One thing my sister-in-law got right, Lincoln is impulsive. The day he moved out he went public with Brittany. He gave interviews portraying me as dull, rigid, domineering. Brittany, he purred, was fun, unique, sexy, magnanimous, the woman he refused to lose again. Lincoln understands how to spin the media. His perfect husband image collapsed, yet he still passed for a decent man. Strangers flooded my Instagram calling me ungrateful, cursed by fate. Brittany quit her secretarial job, stepped out of the shadows, and opt being the mistress everyone loved to hate. She draped herself in designer gowns, limited edition Hermes bags, roaring sports cars, the Eastbrook estate, on Lincoln's arm at every gala. Because she could dance, had a killer figure, and toss off polished pleasantries, she became the instant darling of the city. Lee and Vance, talent and beauty, a match made in heaven, the guests gushed. Lincoln hadn't come home once during those weeks. I phoned again and again, begging him to sign the divorce papers. He kept saying he needed more time. I knew the delay was only his panic that I'd take half his empire. You have 3 more days. After that I file the proof of your affair with the court. Serena, if you're this determined, fine, let's divorce. Don't come crawling back in regret. 3 days later Lincoln appeared, crisp and smiling, and signed without hesitation. Under our lawyer's gaze we carved up every asset. He was wilier than I'd guessed. From the moment he started cheating he'd been quietly shifting hundreds of millions offshore. I'd expected it. Before I even filed I'd traced the smaller river he'd diverted during our negotiations, only a few dozen million, but enough. He flushed crimson. Serena, I never took you for such a gold digger, clawing after every cent. You're the adulterer, the law says I get the larger share. In the end, instead of the 500,000 he'd planned for me, I walked away with 30 million. Bet you didn't see that coming, this is all you'll squeeze out of me, he sneered. Brittany gloated beside him, glowing. Lincoln curled an arm around her waist and looked down at me. I warned you, divorce me and you'd leave with crumbs. I rolled my eyes and turned away. He had no idea the sterling had already risen from the ashes. Divorcing me would cost him dearly. A cheating scumbag doesn't deserve this life, he deserves bankruptcy. After the divorce my father and Adrian flew home, shifting the bulk of their operations back to Eastbrook. Edward keeps such a low profile that few realize the mighty Sterling conglomerate is the reborn former Sterling Empire. Adrian, raised abroad and groomed in secrecy, is even less recognized as Edward's son. Lincoln has never even met him, he only knows I have an older brother overseas. All these years Lincoln's meteoric rise had been quietly underwritten by Adrian. Once we split, Adrian cut the lifeline, informing every supplier he controlled to stop fulfilling Vance orders. Within weeks half of Lincoln's revenue evaporated. He grew frantic, bribed someone for Adrian's address, and showed up laden with gifts. Serena, he's outside. Do you want to speak to him? Adrian asked gently. I shook my head. No. You're no fool, Adrian. Business is business. If he can't deliver more profit than the next man, why keep him? Adrian smiled. Good. You're really over him. He told security to send Lincoln packing. The next few days Lincoln returned again and again, presents in hand. Please, just 3 minutes with Sterling. It's fine, I'll wait. He scraped and flattered, desperate for an audience with my brother. I'd never seen proud Lincoln so humble. To spare me the irritation, Adrian settled the matter quickly. Without revealing our sibling tie, he dispatched an assistant to Vance to explain why cooperation had ceased. Lincoln finally saw the gap between himself and the league Adrian played in, and he stopped coming. The next time I ran into him I was stepping out of the VIP salon inside Serena, the most exclusive couture boutique in the province. He was trailing Brittany while she sifted through limited edition gowns, probably for some upcoming gala. She glowed, interrogating the sales staff about every bead and seam, while Lincoln stood beside her, brow creased, mind clearly elsewhere. They both turned when they heard my heels on the marble. Lincoln froze, startled. What are you doing here? Serena's VIP salon is rumored to cater only to A-list celebrate IES and moguls. Well, if it isn't the former Vance, fancy seeing you, Brittany chirped, voice dipped in venom. I flicked my gaze over her and spoke to the assistant behind me. Wrap up the piece I just tried on. Certainly, ma'am. Brittany's smile faltered at being ignored. She pointed at the gown in my arms. I'll take that one. I lifted my eyes to hers. She smirked. Your husband handed me his credit card, surely you're not stingy over one little dress? My expression didn't waver. It's not about generosity. The question is, can you afford it? Lincoln's face lost a little color, whether because I had ignored him from the moment he walked in or because our conversation stung, I neither knew nor cared. He spoke icily. With me here, how could she possibly not afford it? Brittany beamed, hooking her arm through his and cooing, thanks, hubby. The sales associate saw me incline my head and blurted, that will be 5 million even, sir. Will you be paying by card? 5 million? Brittany froze. Lincoln looked as if someone had slapped him with a wet ledger. The most expensive thing he had ever put on his back had cost a few $100,000. Sir, shall we wrap it up? Buy it. He glanced at me and ground out the word through clenched teeth. Aren't you running a promotion? Can this be 20% off? The associate didn't answer at once, she looked to me. I nodded. Certainly. Brittany's smile slipped. She's just another customer, why ask her? The girl rushed to explain. Discount approval has to come from the owner. Brittany's eyes went wide. She's the owner? Lincoln stood motionless, shock washing over his face. Impossible. Don't tell me she's someone's mistress now? I swung my hand and cracked my palm across his cheek. I was long past explaining myself. Brittany stared at my departing back, too furious to speak. Sterling product launch gala. Adrian had invited every titan in Eastbrook. My sister-in-law urged me to dress to the nines, but I had meetings after the presentation and didn't want the bother of changing, so I wore a plain day dress. Mid-floor, I was chatting with Summers when someone shoved me. The scarlet in my crystal flute nearly splashed onto her silk. The pusher drawled in that familiar baby doll falsetto, expensive gown, huh? Lucky you didn't ruin Summers's outfit, or somebody's husband would have had to pay. I turned and saw Brittany sporting the $5 million crimson gown. 1 week had only made her more obnoxious. Somebody's husband? Serena, didn't you dump that man recently? Summers narrowed her eyes and tugged me behind her. Before I could speak, Brittany tittered. Already discarded? Did his wife catch you? No wonder you're dressed like a church mouse. Serena is single, you're the mistress, Summers announced, loud enough to turn heads. Lewis and several other women who used to take tea with me swept over and piled on the reproach. Brittany stood blinking, speechless for once. I watched coolly. She still believed I was a powerless divorcee clinging to any man who would have me, mistress material, soon cast off. Summer sniffed. Don't think I didn't see you shove Serena and almost douse my skirt. Could you even pay the dry cleaning bill? Everyone knows you home-wrecked your way to a man whose company is circling bankruptcy. Brittany's eyes reddened. Adrian heard the commotion and strode over. What happened? Summers gave him the full, unvarnished recap. My brother frowned at Brittany, voice like granite. Apologize. Lincoln still needed favors from Adrian. Brittany didn't dare offend him. Swallowing her pride, she squeezed out, sorry. But the humiliation rankled, and she must have heard that Adrian had cut Lincoln off, because she added, President Sterling, does your wife know you keep a mistress? This one's divorced, by the way. Adrian gave a short, mocking laugh. My wife is right over there, go repeat yourself and see what she says. The crowd rolled their eyes and drifted away. After a few pleasantries with guests, I stuck close to Adrian. Brittany, rebuffed by him, flitted from group to group pushing cooperation, but the moment anyone heard Vance, the door politely closed. No one took her card. It was probably the most brutal social beating she had ever received. Even in the costliest gown in the room, she might as well have been invisible. When Lincoln appeared, she burst into tears and delivered a full rant. Then he came straight for me. Adrian's brows knit. I didn't invite him. Should I throw them out? No need. Let's hear what he wants. My brother tactfully withdrew. Lincoln looked haggard, his company was not having a good quarter. So this is why you asked for a divorce? I blinked. What reason? Becoming someone's mistress. I stayed silent. If that was what he chose to believe, fine, I was done justifying myself. He eyed me with contempt. Being Vance isn't better than playing mistress? Are you out of your mind? Wanting to gauge his reaction, I played along. It's not so bad. I'm happy enough. He grew agitated, hissing, stop degrading yourself. I still have feelings for you. Come back and you'll be the official wife again. I almost laughed in his face. He pressed on. A man as capable as Adrian would never dump his wife for a divorcee. Stop dreaming. Come home and remarry me. You'll still be the Grand Vance. His so-called reconciliation came with the full expectation of keeping Brittany on the side. The very idea turned my stomach. I cut him off. Adrian is my brother. And you and I are finished, forever. Your company's rapid growth was fed by my brother's silent backing. Most of your products never met spec, he had them reworked on the sly. Every time you missed a deadline, he cleaned up the mess. You claim you loved me, yet you took a mistress and funneled assets away. That's your version of love? Lincoln's face darkened. He's really your brother? The products, I later put Brittany in charge, who knew? I didn't wait for the rest, I made an excuse and walked away. The gala presentation was about to begin. Adrian stepped up to the podium, and thunderous applause rolled through the ballroom. President Sterling is a business prodigy, so young and already at the top. His sister's no lightweight either. I heard she's the one behind this limited edition drop. The woman who's been standing next to him all night, she's his sister, right? Brains and beauty in one package. Adrian waited until the murmurs quieted, eyes roving the sea of tuxedos and gowns. Brittany's face went from pale to mottled crimson. She catapulted to her feet, voice shrill. Sister? She's no sister, she's his mistress. The crowd recoiled as though a rabid animal had charged the stage. Lincoln seized her wrist and slammed her back into her chair. Have you lost your mind? Stop making this worse. Brittany had never heard that tone from him. Tears sprang to her eyes, but shock sealed her lips. Adrian's stare could have cut glass. Next, allow me to introduce my own sister, Serena. Gasps ricocheted across the room. I knew she was his sister. That lunatic just got slapped in the face by facts. Brittany sat frozen, whispering, impossible. Lincoln's expression folded in on itself, admiration, panic, guilt, all at once. I walked to the microphone in a measured stride and delivered the story behind the new product line, materials, craftsmanship, market positioning. Applause exploded again, louder than before. From the edge of the stage, Lincoln studied me, regret pooling in his eyes. I never knew you had this in you. In his memory, I was still the woman who arranged roses and scheduled dinner parties, a useless housewife. He had forgotten I graduated top of my economics class. He never understood how much it cost me to accept his airy "you guard the home, I'll guard the bank account." He no longer mattered. I let the thought guide my boy. See. Here, I must thank my ex-husband, Lincoln. Without him I might still be folding napkins. Oh, and for the record, I'm nobody's side piece. Brittany is the mistress. I had meant to leave them a sliver of dignity, but Brittany kept swinging, so I swung back. From that moment, every executive who flirted with partnering with Sterling crossed Lincoln's firm off the list. His company's path would be uphill on ice. He tried one last salvage. I'm sorry. Brittany didn't mean any harm, she just misunderstood. Don't ruin her. Ruin her? I only told the truth. I smiled thinly. Brittany bolted upright, laughter unhinged. So what if I moved from side girl to center stage? At least my father isn't a convicted criminal. Anybody pairing with Sterling might get burned when history repeats. The ballroom doors parted. Edward walked through, shoulders squared, silver hair catching the chandelier light. In calm, iron tones he recounted the frame-up, the exile, the eventual exoneration. Lincoln's gaze skittered everywhere except my father's face. One word from Lincoln years ago could have stopped the smear campaign, but he'd kept silent to protect a lucrative partnership. I saw the coward clearly at last. Serena, let me explain. I signaled security, and the two of them were escorted out before he finished the sentence. I had pulled my punches before, the real reckoning had only begun. 3 days later I mailed Lincoln a video. In it, Brittany wore a bikini and a sticker numbered 5, perched on the lap of a florid 60-year-old foreigner in a karaoke room. They clinked glasses, giggled, and checked into a love motel within the hour. I blocked him again the second the clip delivered. Word traveled fast, Lincoln dumped Brittany. She begged on her knees, he let her stay, but only as an employee. To win him back, Brittany pimped herself to potential investors. Their wives stormed the office and beat her in the lobby, black eyes, nails raking her cheeks to near ruin. Still she refused to quit. She forged a positive pregnancy test, hoping to force a wedding. Lincoln, disgusted, denounced the child as someone else's. Their shouting match turned physical. she crashed to the marble floor, the fake belly pillow tumbling out. He fired her on the spot and took over her accounts himself. He flew to every client, every supplier, but doors kept closing. Finally he appeared at Sterling, flowers in hand, kneeling on concrete. Serena, I was wrong. Brittany's gone. Come home, I swear I'll spend my life making it up to you. His idea of devotion was almost funny. When I stayed silent he shifted tactics. Serena, for old time's sake, help me. I'm going bankrupt. You forged that road yourself. He still didn't know I had short-sold his stock, or that while he screamed at Brittany I raided his engineering team and lured away his last clients with 5-point higher margins. I offered, cool as winter glass, I'll buy Vance for $2 million. Take it or leave it. Done. Wire the money, the company's yours. Paperwork closed within 48 hours. On his way out he wiped his eyes. How did I end up here? I didn't look up from my monitor. A man who betrays his wife invites every misfortune. Lincoln vanished from Eastbrook and from my life. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the story, tap like and share it with friends. Drop your thoughts below, subscribe for more, and we'll see you next time.